of the college. We are discussing the same. So when I saw this opportunity, I thought let's have a great discussion over this. Thank you.
Great. Muskan, would you like to tag anyone from the participants?
Ishita.
There are two Ishitas here. Okay. First one.
So one is Ishita Saraswat, another is Ishita. So which one are you tagging, Muskan?
First one, Ishita. Only Ishita.
Okay, okay.
Hi, am I audible? Because I'm on my phone, I almost forgot.
Yeah, you're audible.
Okay. Hi, my name is Ishita, and I'm presently located in Denmark. I'm currently working as a sustainability consultant with a port here in Denmark, and I'm doing my PhD on around the same topic as well.
Okay.
I did my bachelor's in India from Guru Nanak Dev University in Urban and Regional Planning, and I just wanted to know what is going around in that part of the world, because I am really untouched from last couple of years, and this just popped up on my Facebook, so that's how I am here. So if you feel I could be of any help, or if I could help any one of you, just let me know. I would be happy to do that.
Thanks, Ishita. Would you like to tag anyone from the participants?
Yeah, I have somebody who has a co-name as mine, so yeah.
Okay, Ishita Saraswat. Here you go.
Fine. Good evening, everyone. I am Ishita Saraswat, and I am currently final year student at pursuing my B planning at School of Planning and Architecture, Delhi. And I came to know about this whole meeting through Shambhavi, as she's also an alumni for there. So I thought it might be like very interesting to know what other people are thinking around about the same topics, and let's meet and discuss what are we doing in this world exactly. So yeah, I would like to tag Saurav Subhash.
Hi everyone. So I'm Saurabh. I'm an undergraduate from VIT, and I have a degree in energy engineering. So I'm looking to do my master's in sustainable development and sustainable resource management, and that's why I saw this link up on LinkedIn, and I wanted to join everyone to understand what exactly is going on and what discussions can be made in the group. Hello?
Yeah,
Am I audible?
audible, Saurav. Can you tag the next person?
Yeah, Asna.
Okay, hello everyone. Good evening. I am Asna Siddiqui. I am pursuing my bachelor's, and I'm in bachelor's of architecture, and I'm in final year. I am currently pursuing it from Jamia Millia Islamia, and currently I'm working on my thesis, which is sustainable development of tribal communities' livelihood. And and my site is in Madhya Pradesh, so I'm currently working on that topic. So I think from Anisha, I got to know about about this webinar or this conference. So I just joined it. So I think it will be really helpful for my thesis as well. So yeah.
Yeah. So please tag someone.
The next one is Suprita.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Suprita Chakravarti, and I'm in my 4th year of architecture. And I'm studying in Bangalore. There's a college called CMR School of Architecture. So I'm studying from there. And actually this semester we have our urban design going on, and I kind of really got interested by the concepts of sustainability and integrating it into the cities. And I actually found out about this conference through Shambhavi. Actually, it came up on my LinkedIn, and I'm really glad that I could be a part of this. Thank you.
Thanks, Suprita. Please tag someone else.
Oh, yeah. The name that, okay, I tagged Srirag.
Okay. Srirag, are you here?
Shambhavi, his mic is not working. He has written something in the chat box.
Okay. His mic is not working, or my mic is not working?
Srirag's mic is not working, and he is writing on the chat box.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. So he is a GIS professional with 1 year of experience.
Okay.
And,
Okay.
yeah.
So, Suprita, can you tag someone else who can go next for the introduction?
Yeah, sure. I would like to tag Anuja and Jay, sorry.
Yeah, thank you, Subrita. Hello, everyone. I'm Anuja Jadon. I've done my graduation from University of Delhi, and I'm pursuing my master's in environment management from Delhi State University, which is DGSITO. Looking forward to this session and this interaction with you all. Thank you. I tag Anisha now.
Hello everyone, I am Anisha. I'm a final year architecture student at School of Planning and Architecture, Bhopal. I'm also one of the national team members for this initiative with Shambhavi, and she'll be moderating for us today.
Thanks,
And
Anisha.
I would like to tag, I think everybody's done.
No, Vansh is left.
Vansh, I'm not able to see. Okay, so Vansh, please.
Vansh, are you here? I guess he is not here. So I guess we are on time. So till then, the other participants are joining. I would just explain the purpose of this. But before that, I would ask you all to I will launch the poll afterwards, but before that I would just explain you the purpose of this dialogue and what we'll be doing today. So here all of us are curious to know or rethink about sustainable development, as I hear from all of you, and also in the expectation box in the Google form you all had mentioned about it. So today we will be looking at how sustainable development, we see it in our everyday life, and what do we relate or mean literally in literal sense when we say sustainable development. It would be more like an exploring session than saying that this is right or this is wrong. And the second thing that we'll be doing here today is that we'll be looking at sustainable development across different disciplines from which we belong. So it will be purely interactive, and how we'll be proceeding, rethinking, unlearning, reloading, and doing everything. It will be fully interactive. Thirdly, what we'll be doing is we'll be answering the question that how do we take this debate of sustainable development forward, or whether we need to do that, whether we need to leave it at this juncture and continue with something else in else after this. So these are some of the questions that we'll be answering. And before we begin with the session, I would just like you to tell that don't be nervous while you're speaking, because like just this platform could be seen as a way to let go of that nervousness. And also please don't judge anyone when they comment on a certain aspect, because they have some reservations with that stand of theirs. And secondly, also we need to learn to appreciate the diversity that this word sustainable development has when it comes to different individuals. Thirdly, what we'll be doing, what I suggest you to do is that participate as much as you can. If you don't do that, and I would be tagging you. And lastly, stay humble and deliberate as much as possible. So with this, I'll be beginning with the session, and whatever we'll be doing today, we'll be writing on a whiteboard, so that after this session we have like the main points that we discussed. Yeah. So with this, and the whole process of this dialogue would be that I will be asking you some questions. I would be also participating in those questions, and some of the OC members again would be participating. And with this, we will be trying to, see or arrange or understand how we perceive sustainable development. So my first question to you all is, so before I begin, just give me a thumbs up so that, all of you know the rules of this dialogue, and I can just start with the discussion. And in case you have any queries, you can ask them right now. Okay. Okay, so I guess some of you. So are there any queries? I would just ask you. If you have, just unmute yourself and, you go ahead. Okay. So I don't think there are any queries right now. So I will start with the discussion of and the first question for today's session. And the first question is that if sustainable development was never a word, suppose we never invented a word like sustainable development. So what could be a closest synonym to sustainable development, what that you relate to? And just, come up with some synonym of sustainable development, or at presently also, when it comes to sustainable development, what strikes you the first? Which word strikes you first? So are there any volunteers who would like to, discuss or tell the cohort about which is the word that comes to their mind first when it comes to sustainable development?
Okay, so one of the most important directions that I can say about India's case is water resource management.
Water
So,
resource management.
yeah, so I studied in VIT, and do you want more about it, or are you just jotting down the points for now?
Sorry?
Do you want me to speak more about it, or are you just jotting down some points for now?
I am jotting down the points, as well as you can speak as much as you want over, giving the synonyms and anything. So I'll be writing this simultaneously. That's not an issue. Yeah.
All right, okay. We'll talk about it later then. Okay.
Yeah. Would you like to say something more on it?
Yeah. So studying in Chennai, which we all know, about 2.5 years back, I think South Africa was facing a water crisis. 2.5 or 3 years back, they were zeroing in on a zero day, and they were able to avert it because of proper water management, drinking water management, and now they are back on track. So people drastically reduce their water usage. And coming back to India's case, a significant part of India still uses underground water for their resources, and there's indiscriminate use of this. There is no planning, there is no regulation, there is nothing. And Chennai is one of the prime areas where this water shortage could hit in the recent future. And we really need to do some kind of planning in order to avoid such a drastic situation.
Okay. So we get the story behind your word now. Is there anyone else who would like to give a word synonymous to sustainable development?
Or can I?
Yeah. You can. Anyone can go first. That's not an issue. You can unmute yourself and go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. So the first word that kind of comes to my mind when you say sustain is to maintain. And I think the whole point of us trying to maintain our lives and with the help of the resources that's available to us would be the closest example that comes to my mind when you talk about sustainable development.
Okay. Maintaining lives.
Yeah.
That's what you mean. Yeah. So
may I?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can continue. I'll answer afterwards.
Okay. Asna, you can continue.
Okay. So I feel regenerating is a term which we can use after sustainable development, because I feel if this sustainable development wasn't the word, I feel the world, the community, and the environment needs more kind of regeneration. Uh, uh, because the damage what we have done, I feel regeneration can develop our communities and our environment in a wholesome way, rather than a ground zero development. So I feel maybe this can be the word.
Okay. And are there any other volunteers who would?
Yes, I would like to say, so if sustainability never existed as a word, I think this whole concept for me would be more of like social context, like coexistence of people among them, among typologies of income typologies and caste and all those things. Like how do people coexist in an environment, in an ecosystem? At the same time, how do people coexist along with wildlife as well as plants, the whole environment as a whole? So it will be more like coexistence.
Okay. Thanks, Ashita. Is there anyone else who would like to suggest or
Yeah.
yeah?
I would like to say, so whenever I hear sustainable, for me it's like feasible. So, like for example, there should be no hunger around the people, and also they should get the clean water, like something, you know, means they should not face the problems that they are not getting something in which is the lack around them.
Okay, no lack of resources, basically, I guess.
Yeah,
And you just use the word feasible, right?
right.
Okay. Yeah. So anyone else? Srirag, would you like to, share any word? And Shrishti, so I guess Shrishti joined late. So Shrishti, we are discussing here a word synonymous to sustainable development, or you can say that the word relate the most to with in terms of the meaning, the way you understand it. So yeah. So is there anyone else who would like to share their views on this? Ishita, would you like to go next?
I'm sorry, again.
Yeah. Ishita, would you like to share your views on sustainable development? The word synonymous to sustainable development?
I mean, for me, I don't know, there is a lot of hype around this word sustainable development. So
Yeah.
probably I think many of us do not really understand what sustainable development actually is. You
Yeah.
know, I would probably, if I would have to replace the word sustainable with something, I would probably relate it with something called upheld. It would be the appropriate synonym that comes to my mind when I think about this.
Upheld.
Yes, holding something like it is or like it was, or we have a benchmark that okay, this is where we want to go in 20, 30, 40, 50. I don't know, because the world 20 years ago was like this and it should be like that, something.
Okay. So I guess when it comes to sustainable development, as you have seen right now on the whiteboard, that that all of us has a different interpretation to it. And as Ishita said, that the hype that has been created around this word is such a like has overshadowed the fact that what it actually means. Even though Brundtland Commission explained and elaborated what it is, after that there has been amendments to the definition of sustainable development, but I don't know any one of us remembers that after the Brundtland Commission, because most of us think that it is more about the future, it is more about sustaining resources, and we miss out on the other aspects of sustainable development because it's so overarching. And with this, uh, have you guys ever looked at what sustainable is on dictionaries? And if not, then we can do it right now. So you guys can look at what it means, and we can see, we can bring our perspective and the dictionary's perspective or the literal perspective, what it means together, or how it differs. So we can do that, and I would just request you to take 1 minute and just search for the meaning of sustainable development. So I guess some of us have, you have definitely done this. And would you like to share the results, what have appeared on your dictionaries?
The instant Google search for the word sustainable says in order to maintain something. continue and upheld the thing.
Yeah. Others who would like to join what Ishita just mentioned? Or is it the same? Okay, so we have something on chat. Capable of being sustained. Okay. Coexistence and progress.
Maintain an ecological balance.
Okay. Okay. I guess we have got a lot of, sentences word on our whiteboard. And what I would just like to ask you, does does all these words still uh, you know weigh equally to your interpretation of sustainable development together, or any of a single word that weighs equally or to your interpretation of sustainable development? Because I feel that somewhere it's still more elaborated form, and and I would love to know your views on it. So how do you guys perceive what is written here? Is there anyone who would like to volunteer?
After reading all these words, I feel that the basic question that comes to my mind, it's a question that
Yeah.
what are we looking forward to sustain? Is it us as human beings? Is it us as nature? Is it us as a whole, the planet? What are we looking at? What is the thing that we are trying to sustain?
That's a thought-provoking question. And I guess the professionals who are still using this word, whether be it in their company's name or whether be it in their policies, they still I am not sure whether they still know what they are trying to sustain. Maybe it's the whole planet, and in planet they generalize everyone. And maybe that is the reason, why we have these three spheres and the three circles, one of environment, other of economy, and the fourth one of social or society. And and they are coming together, and the part that is overlapping in three of them is what we call it sustainable. Like some of us have reimagined this in this sense. And I guess the point that Ishita, you're trying to make, and somewhere or the other I also think on those lines, that we, after using this word sustainable development, since it's so generalized or so broad, we sometimes forget what we are trying to achieve, even though it has been quantified in terms of SDGs, in terms of the goals or the indicators. Somewhere or the other, the nuanced the physicality of the word disappears, basically. And I would love to know others' views on this, whether this happens with them also, or it is just like, or is it like only some of the people are thinking this way?
I'd like to add to this.
Yeah.
That's okay. So, firstly, I think it depends on the background of anyone who's trying to make the world more sustainable. So, if you're an engineer, you'll have one point of view. You'll be focusing on the technological background of how to make the world more sustainable. You'll be working on clean energy technologies also. If you're a social sciences student, you'll be trying to work with the um, uh, inequalities that you see around the world due to our not so sustainable ways of living. This could be anything from let's take the corona virus outbreak in India.
Yeah.
Due to our extremely how do I due to very poor planning, it's often that the poor and the lower middle class that are hit anytime there's any kind of disaster. So when you talk about sustainable living, we need to focus on every single human being alive, every even including the nature, so that anytime there is any kind of disaster, you don't have the poor often striving to get the most basic needs. So this also counts sustainability. So depending on your background, you will be focusing on different things, and that's how the whole that's why you said it's a vast uh, you know umbrella of things, and all of us need to work on different aspects to make the whole world sustainable.
Okay. But Saurav, have you ever looked at the, origin of this word? How it came into,
Sustainability?
yeah,
No, I remember the first time hearing this word is when I was in school, maybe ninth or tenth, and the only thing we knew about that is sustainable. Sustainability means making sure we have something for the future while at the same time, developing ourselves. But as we grow up, we learn that it's not just that. We need to look at a broader picture. The reason I talked about depending on my background is because I am an engineer. I don't really have the during my college at least, I didn't really have the need to go out to the social masses and try to mitigate problems in their lives. What I could do sitting in college was do projects that would maybe help them technologically. Maybe try to mitigate solar degradation problems, or try to set up small uh, system softwares that we could try to produce electricity for these people who have absolutely no access to electricity. These are the kind of things that I can do. But
okay,
someone who has a social sciences background can go actually into the masses, try to get the water resource management problem that we talked about. We can talk about setting up tanks, stuff
yeah.
like that. So that's what I'm talking about.
So I did some homework and I looked at how this word evolved. So
Okay.
before 1980s, it was environmentalism that was used. Okay. And everyone was uh, keen on protecting environment. But somewhere or the other, that didn't work well. And, it was not an overarching word where an economist would be contributing to, and it was somewhere or the other generalized or normalized for the people from environment sciences background. So the policy makers, I don't know who exactly, but there was then this word coined sustainability, which was then used as a substitute to environmentalism post 1980s, post 1990s, around that. and and I yeah, so we have come across a lot of definitions, but the intent was basically to protect the environment, but somehow it got merged with social sciences, it got merged with economics,
Shambhu,
it came,
can I say
yeah,
something?
yeah, yeah.
Okay, because I quickly see if I could find something that might be useful for you all, because the thought that you are sitting with today, I had the same thoughts 3 years ago in 2017. Around this time, it was the first time I visited United Nations headquarters in New York. So
Yeah,
there was, 2030 UN development goals and blah, 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 all from where it started emerging.
yeah.
So I started to look for all that you are talking about. I will just share my screen. Is it okay?
I guess you don't have you are not the co-host, and I can't make you the co-host because I'm not the host, so only host can make you the co-host.
Do you have an email ID? If I mail you something, can you share it? Because
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
okay. What is it?
Gupta Shambhavi 5. I will just type it
Yes.
on. Yeah, yes. I've sent it, Ishita.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Because it's not, I don't know, but it will clear a lot of doubts when we talk about the word sustainability. I
okay,
was given a task here at my work. I am working on a concept of sustainable ports and airports towards a sustainable city.
okay.
So when I started this exactly, and this was also my question, that what is sustainability?
Yeah,
What, from where did it emerge and all, and the presentation that I am sending you now would probably answer most of the questions.
okay,
So I'm sending the whole presentation as it is, but
okay.
some of it could be useful, some of it might not be. So I hope that's fine.
Yeah.
Boom, boom. But you can continue meanwhile.
So Ishita, if you know, other than, yeah, you can send the presentation. I can show it on the screen. But other than that, what are your takeaways from that presentation so that others can benefit out of it rather than just looking at the presentation? But your takeaways or the point that you're trying to make here.
I'm trying to say that when we are talking about sustainability, right, the first thing that pops up our mind is green environment.
Yeah.
That's it. We are talking about CO2 neutral countries and cities, carbon footprints, and everything. Every word, today the market type is, if you want to sell something, just add the word green to it. Green medicines, green, I don't know, tables, buses, beds, whatever word comes to mind. But just the environmental fact will not be enough. We need to consider how the social aspect of sustainability can be incorporated. Along with, we cannot forget that with all of this, what is very important is the economic development as well. So, and then often we forget the human involvement in there. So we have to consider all those parameters on table or on board or on as a model when you're talking about, take any aspect of it. Like I see the water resource management. All right. Here also we spoke about environment, and again, but we forgot two of the other things. Then we are talking about maintaining lives. Here we are talking about the human aspect, but what about the other three things? Because if there is an imbalance of something, I don't think it's good enough.
Sustainable.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess what you're talking here is more of the research or the origin of it. I completely understand that once the word was coined, it was then merged with the other fields, as you said, human evolution, social sciences, and economic development. However, the research does not replicate directly into practice. And now in our daily lives, when we are using the word sustainable development, it's never overarching the way the word was formed to be. It's more limited, but it is something something like we are somewhere or the other relating it to some specific words like maintaining lives, regenerating, water resource management, coexistence. But at the same time, we are still unable to meet that overarching form of sustainable development in our everyday life or in our practice. However, the research does consider it to be something broad, something which is very broad, something that contains a lot of disciplines into it, or maybe something that covers or is the solution or the utopia for the next future, for our future. But when we look at from our present day lives, it's somewhere or the other, we move back from that true meaning of it, the way it was designed, or the way it was invented, and to an extent, it was very much a replacement to environmentalism. And this actually brings me to my second question: that do you guys think that it is the present usage in practice and in everyday life of sustainable development is sufficient when we relate it to the literal meaning of it, even to the Brundtland Commission report, or even to the present reports which further detail sustainable development? So what are your views on it?
I would I think nowadays what's happening is people use sustainable development for their own, like for their own self, to maintain themselves first and then think about what's like the bigger picture. So as all of you spoke before me, I think that attitude of people has to change. When they think of the broader picture first and then start going into the details of trying to solve the problem, instead of first sustaining yourself, okay, I'm cool, and then think of, okay, I can help so many more people. When this kind of attitude of people changes, I think that's when we can make a broader impact and a better change, and that's when we can also see results happening in our world.
Yeah. Okay. So it's I guess you are saying that it is more like I think it's required to share now. Ishita, you suggesting that we should share the presentation right now?
I wanted to type, it's not required. So I'm sorry about that.
Sorry, I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I said I was writing, I think it's not required. So I missed the not.
Okay. So I guess what was the point that we were trying to make, the form from which sustainable development emerged into the academia and practice?
Can you repeat? Sorry.
Sorry, Suprita, I was just referring to Ishita on the PPT thing.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah. So Ishita, what was the point that you were trying to make? Was it, the origin of the word and how it relates to the other domains?
I am just trying to say that what we read and what we study and what we, you are referring to some reports and you're referring to some existing primary or secondary resources, I don't know. When it comes to the market scenario of implementing the reports that are there,
yeah,
policies change, the laws change, there is a lot of political pressure, so it is not really possible to replicate what we read. There is a lot of black and white thing in that world.
Okay, so I guess there are a lot of grays when it comes to sustainable development, not just black and white.
You can say so.
Yeah.
I would probably say black. I don't know. I am not very fond of that word grays. That does not exist in my dictionary, so to say.
Okay. So yeah, so we were discussing on the present usage of the word, and Suprita said that it has somehow been amended to in a sense that it justifies your action, that and the intentions behind it, even though there is something like us first within the whole notion or the ideation of it. So yes, is there anyone else who would like to tell us whether they think that the present usage of the word is sufficient when it comes to the meaning, literal meaning, what we say or what we know?
I'd like to put something out in the forum. Okay, so we recently had the RA forest protests, cutting down of trees in Mumbai.
Yeah.
And we had a significant number of people all over the country trying to put a stop to that. There was similar protests in Bangalore as well. And they were say the argument was, if you cut down the forests, you would lose the lungs of a very dense city. The only problem is that research suggests that having a metro in that particular part of the city would have lesser consumption of lesser would result in less emissions of carbon dioxide if that many people use the metro to that city than if they used cars and other public transportation which uses petroleum and coal and diesel. So you use the term sustainability as environmentalism. That's how it stemmed. But the problem is now we need to look at all the aspects of it. That's why the terms of economics and she talked about political pressure as well. All of this, you can't just look at the environmental factor itself. You need to look at the economic factors. You need to look at the human cost of all of this, and that's why this term sustainability is a larger umbrella now than it was before.
Saurav, you were saying something. You just stopped.
Yeah, I finished.
Okay.
So my basic point was that the RA forest protests, while completely understandable, if you look at the research as to how much carbon dioxide emissions could be reduced if that small part of the forest was cut down, you could actually make an argument as to how it's feasible, even though the protests do make sense. So you can't just look at the environmental factor or the temporary environmental factor. You need to look at the long-term aspects as well.
Okay. So Saurav, what if the people who are protesting on the RA forest debate are from the environmental perspective? They are also bringing this sustainable development into picture.
Right.
And as you said that, somebody like there were reports which said that this area is the lungs of the city.
Right.
So from both the perspectives, we see that sustainable development is being met. But it's more specific when we are, when we are understanding, or, when the two parties are perceiving sustainable development.
Right. Okay,
Yeah.
so there are okay. We have to look. This is India, and just like it's in a democratic country, and there are people with vested interests. So there are people who legitimately wanted a proper stop to the cutting of the forest, and then there are obviously vested interests trying to put a stop to it. The thing is, if you look at the whole picture, the entire forest was not meant to be cut down. I'm just talking about the array forest for right now. It
Yeah.
was a small section of the forest to be cut down just to create a pathway for the metro linking between one place to another. And if they actually looked in, there was just an argument saying that if you cut down this part of the forest, there's a lot of wildlife that will lose their homes,
Yeah.
which is a perfectly reasonable argument. So
Yeah.
obviously, the government has to take the government and the people involved in the planning of the metro needs to take some steps for this to mitigate this if they want to go forward with the project. At the same time, you need the people who are protesting to have there needs to be some kind of reasoning. You can't always have I want this, and nobody
Yeah.
reaches anywhere.
So maybe, I will take up this issue, and or this case of RA forest, and we'll discuss how we can, maybe perceive it in an easier form or something like that. Because right
Right.
now I have some questions before coming to that part of discussion. So
Right.
we
Okay.
will for sure discuss this again. But when you say present usage of the sustainable development word, so you say that it's not just about, I guess what you said it is that it's not just about society or environment, but it is
Mhm.
more of political or economic development as well. And
Absolutely.
it is always uh, like I think you are saying that we need to look into that aspect also of sustainable
Absolutely.
development. Yeah.
Yes.
So with this, I would like to ask you all two questions here. First is that what was the first time that you were acquainted with this word sustainable development? And I guess we will follow that tagging strategy, because I feel that a lot of people are sleeping in this debate and we need to wake them up. Secondly is that and when you say sustainable development now, after being acquainted it in your school or anywhere, how do you think in your smallest efforts you can contribute something to sustainable development? And with this sort of, I guess you just started with it, that you had answered already the first part of the question, that was about that you got acquainted with this word in your school. Until then you were not I guess much familiar with it. Yeah, so would you like to answer the second part of the question and probably tag the other people in your conversation?
Okay. What was the second part exactly?
Second part, that what would be the smallest effort or any of your present efforts which you think could contribute to sustainable development, or
Uh,
to anything that you relate the most when it comes to sustainable development?
See, the most day-to-day activity that you could argue is something that all of us have heard from our parents, if you're from middle-class families especially. Don't leave your lights on if you leave the room. I'm tired of hearing this, and I still haven't changed this habit. But this is
Yeah.
one thing that you can obviously cut down. When you talk about sustainability, it's always environment comes first. So cut down electricity usage. Obviously, you'll have less pollution to the environment because at the end of the day, we generate most of our electricity from coal. So it's a thing you can do. Be the change you want to be. You can do that. Then there's of course saving water. Don't spend an hour in the shower. That's an
Okay.
obvious red flag.
Yeah.
Apart from that, what I could suggest is maybe as students, you could always have, um, I don't know, societies. You can talk to your neighbors, talk to, or maybe often in India you have societies where there are committees always talking about how to help their own neighborhoods. Maybe you could contribute to that. Ask them to set up maybe solar panel, a small terrace farm or something. Maybe that could generate electricity throughout the for the street lights around. Things like that. It's small things. That's the only thing we can do.
Okay.
But honestly speaking, for the most part, it's the corporations that need to take a larger role in this, because however way you look at it, most of the pollution that comes is from industries and major corporations, and regardless of how much they try to portray themselves as the sustainable model, they always have their heads deep in the dirt. It's always them in the beginning. So you need to talk about this as well.
Okay. Would you like to tag someone from the
Sure.
participants? Yeah.
Muskan.
Yeah. So basically, first of all, I'll contribute to the second question. Uh,
Okay.
like if for me that if I want to bring a small change, I'll try to make something like a gender equality around me. Because whenever hear some news related to that women are facing some problems or girls are facing some problems, so that trigger me the most. And second thing, I'll try to be like wherever possible, I can contribute to the poor people who cannot afford foods for basically for them. So my basic purpose will be to means reduce the hunger purpose, and for that also right now I'm volunteering somewhere, and if possible I'll try the most to do in that part of the society.
Okay. Muskan, would you like to tag anyone from the
um
conversation? Yeah.
Ashna.
Ashna? Asna. Yeah. Asna, are you here? Muskan, can you tag someone else?
I can go next.
Yeah, yeah,
Sababhi.
yeah, Anuja.
So regarding sustainable development, the first time I heard about this or maybe read for the first time was in grade 6 in my EVS book. So
Okay.
obviously it seems very fancy, this word. So we have this generic definition that I guess each one of you is aware of. Coming to the next question regarding the contribution, I would 100% agree with what Saurav said. Okay, middle class households, that's what we are used to hearing all our lives. Secondly, as a person, like when I'm from Mathura and I'm staying in Delhi for it has been around 4 years that I've been in Delhi, and on an individual level, I prefer public transport over taking a cab just for myself. Or maybe when I'm doing that, when I'm booking cabs, it's always carpooling that I go for. So I guess that's the contribution I do uh, on my level.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great to
Thank
hear
you.
that, Anuja. Would you like to tag someone else from the conversation?
Anisha, or maybe Suprita, whosoever is willing to.
I would like to speak.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
Ishita, yeah.
so the whole discussion that started with Saurabh, I was thinking about it. Since we are talking about sustainability at a vertical level, social, political, economical, environmental, uh, the points that have been coming right now and the two questions that you've asked give an insight that sustainability is also can be looked at a horizontal level, at a vertical point. Vertical in the sense, if for an individual sustainability is turning off the lights, saving water, using a paper bag or a cloth bag, which
Yeah.
makes their individual life sustainable. But
Yeah.
then the talk of RA forest came in. So
Yeah.
RA forest, then now the government is looking at a city level sustainability, while people are looking at a neighborhood level sustainability, that our forest is going away or our thing is going away, while the government is looking at some other level of sustainability. So it's very broad. So see, like the first time I heard sustainability was my CBSE textbook, where they taught that definition in economics, I guess 9th or 10th grade CBSE book, that sustainability is to use resources for by taking care of future resources keeping in mind the need of future resources, something like that. And
Yeah.
now that I read about sustainability is completely different. If I think what I am doing for sustainable living at a personal and the lowest level of this vertical horizontal barrier, my form of sustainability is using public transport, using less water, using more environmentally friendly products. While if I look at from what education that I am pursuing, and at that level, if I am talking about sustainability, I am looking at overall country level. What are the policies that we are making? What policies make a country as a whole sustainable? So again, it's a
Okay.
very wide topic. But then again, it depends on which scale are we looking at, not just economic, political, environmental, but also at city or maybe at personal level, household level, and whatsoever.
Okay. Thanks, Ishita. And I guess I would just ask some other volunteers who would like to speak on this before we move ahead with the next question. So is there anyone else who would like to, say what they do when it comes to their efforts on sustainable development and how, they were acquainted with the usage of sustainable development?
Yeah, so I think I was introduced to this sometime in school. I don't remember actually when, but when it comes to our us contributing to it, I think the simplest thing you can do at home is to not waste food, because food wastage is such a big problem right now in our world. And even the garbage segregation is becoming another issue. So food wastage and garbage segregation go hand in hand. So when we reduce the wastage and also start to categorize the kind of waste we're producing, I think we can help a lot in terms of sustainability. And in terms of the professional, I mean, I'm studying architecture, so I've kind of read a lot about these sustainable homes and buildings that people are designing. So most of them use the resources available to the area and not outsource it from somewhere else. So you use the local materials to provide solutions for people. This way you can reduce the impact, and it also is such a diverse place to visit or even live in. This would help a lot in terms of improving the quality also.
Okay, thanks, Suprita. And with this, I would like to steer the conversation to our third question. That is, when it comes to your profession, I guess, in as Saurav said, that in almost all the professions we have a different outlook to this world and what it is, and how do you perceive it. So can someone volunteer and start this conversation, or else I would like to do that. And also you can bring in this conversation, just ask what your profession says about sustainability. Secondly, how it tries to meet it. For example, I in one of our internal conversations on rethinking sustainable development, I just somewhere thought that being a planner, no doubt we talk about social welfare, we talk about environment at the same time, and also to an extent about economic development. But somewhere or the other, when it comes to us pursuing what sustainable development means, even though it means less garbage generation, but on the other hand, our college, has we have to take a lot of sheet prints on A1 size, and then we somewhere or the other, I guess, fail to contribute to what we are pursuing, or what our profession talks about when it comes to sustainable development. And the amount of waste generated, it could be reduced in some or the other manner, since now everything is happening online. We have online reviews, and this is making it more sustainable than it was before, because at that time we had only one sheet for each review, and then it's almost wasted for the next one. So I would ask you to bring out what your profession says about sustainable development, or how your profession tries to achieve it. So Muskan, would you like to say something on this?
So basically, being from a background of commerce, my basic thing is like economic growth side, and coming to the industry point, to from that level of point, I think that sustainability from there means not wasting the resource at the part of industry point, or like using the material in such a way that there is innovative ideas apart from like wasting you know environmental thing. So that's my
Okay.
point.
It's the sustainability is driven through innovation. Are you trying to say that?
Yeah.
Okay, innovation, so that it has lesser environmental impact.
Right.
Okay. Would you like to tag anyone else from the conversation?
Saurabh?
I guess the engineer's perspective.
Yeah, so the engineer's perspective is Look, when you look at sustainability, we already talked about what different backgrounds will decide on. So if you want my perspective, like all I can say is I can only do, not me, as for any engineer or any technical background, anyone with a technical background, they just have to work with the improving the efficiency of already existing technology. So we pretty much have the technology available right now to access energy from all kinds of available sources. And the only thing we can do at this point is research more and more to develop them to become more efficient. For example, solar panels will give you an efficiency of about 17% at this stage. 17%. That's really not a lot. That's why you need large areas of land for this. Whereas a coal plant will give you an efficiency of about 60 to 70%. That's why governments, especially the poor countries, still rely on them. And obviously, we have to talk about nuclear energy. A lot of people are still scared of that, and nuclear energy has an efficiency of about 75 to 80%, and that too in a tenth of the land that's required for a solar farm. So these are the aspects we can talk about, developing the efficiency of all the existing technologies. That's all there is.
Okay. Would you like to tag someone from the participants list?
Sure. Manshita.
Manchita, are you here? Saurabh, could you just tag someone else?
Srirag doesn't have his mic on. Who else left? Suprita, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. So as I said, in architecture, we look at materials and how they improve and how you can use the locally available materials to design and construct environments for people. They don't always have to be, concrete or glass. When you're living in a place like India, which has so many different, so much climatic variation, every place has its own answer to these climates. And when you study them further, you understand that you can use these principles to impact how people live and stay here. And I think the best example would be when you go to like some part when you go to Rajasthan, you can see that there's always narrow streets and there are tiny windows which are high up. So this, and they also have these jalis and stuff. So this already brings in air and filters out light. So I think the local importance plays a very big aspect here.
Okay. Suprita, would you like to tag someone else next?
Yeah, I would like to tag Ishita.
Okay. Ishita, are you here?
Yes, I'm here, and I have been listening very thoroughly to understand where is it. It's a very good discussion, but I don't know. At one point, there was an argument or a statement that says that sustainability could be attained through innovation, right? So when we talk about, I will just go back to your previous question, right? Because I'll try to relate them together. Saving water, saving electricity, solar farms. I'm just reading what you're written. So it's actually to understand what we call demand and supply, you know, because there is demand of products, of things, of you can name anything: housing, water, electricity, etc. So to fulfill that demand, there has to be a supply, and in order to make that supply sufficient enough, we have to use all the resources. So probably when you come to from your respective fields, engineering or architecture or whatever, we need a great market shift, or innovation within the market. For example, where is the actual demand? Is the demand really genuine or it's not? First we need to define that, because if it is not required, then we don't think that we need to have the production in order to justify that. And talking about this is my own thought that I probably came up with this.
Okay.
We really need to understand this. We need to go back to what is very in these days the word called minimalist lifestyle, for example. I mean, probably we have, I don't know, 10 jackets, 20 shoes or something, but do you really need that? Do we really need that? Because if I will go and I need to, I am buying it. So in order to fulfill my lust to buy that, the provider has to fulfill it. So we need to have that demand supply shift. The ground studies should be genuine enough. It should not be making all about making money, but of course, we need to shift the market as in our own perspective fields. We have to be justified enough what is required. I mean, me as a person, how I changed myself, I was probably buying 20 things in 2018, and today in 2020 I am down to what, two. I mean, we are building houses, we talk about sustainable houses, and we are talking about more storage space. But why do we need more storage space? So that we can buy more stuff, it will, you will get all of your answers automatically, I think. So probably as a professional, that should be the groundwork that we should do and we should contribute to. And in order to sustain, businesses will find out their own financial models, business models. They have experts to find it out. So there will be a whole paradigm shift. Here, I'm located here in Denmark at present, and together with two other countries, Norway and Finland, this is what we are trying to achieve here. It's still on an experimental mode, or will it happen or will it not? We don't know, but probably I think that's pretty justified.
Okay, that's very interesting. And to this, to this thought of yours that, how do we create a balance in case of demand and supply? I would just like, to bring a case of Delhi. And while since I studied in Delhi, I was acquainted with a lot of case studies and real ground case studies in case of Delhi. So the whole there is a very small norm in the master plan. It says that there is 54% housing shortage for EWS and LIG. That means the weaker sections of the society or the lower income groups. The housing shortage is of 54%. But in order to meet it, what they are trying to do is that they are trying to say that for the private developments, at least 15% of the FAR should be reserved. 15% of the FAR should be reserved for the EWS and LIG, and that is a condition on the basis of which the plan would pass. So here the problem is that your housing shortage is 54%, whereas the methods you are trying to adopt is in a way only will meet only 15% of the housing population probably, but the housing.
I think we lost your voice for past 10 seconds or something. So can you repeat?
Yeah, so I was just saying that in case of MIG and HIG, when there is a project, if suppose 15% of the FAR is allocated for lower income groups, so the remaining 75% is allocated for 85% is allocated for the MIG and HIG. But in MIG and HIG, that are the middle income brackets and the high income brackets, there is no housing shortage and there is no housing demand. That has led to vacant housing houses in Delhi. And here the need is not being met. But on the other hand, we are creating vacant dwelling units for the sections which actually don't need housing. And we are spending a lot of resources, time, effort and money, but still not meeting our end goal, that is to meet the 54% of the housing shortage for lower income groups. And here the sustainable thing somewhere falls down, because we are trying to more manipulate our norms based on the market or based on the profit side of the market, rather than meeting the real needs of the market or the people of the city. And I really think that the minimalistic, or we need to move away from a convenience perspective, that this is convenient for us, so this is why we are doing, but to a perspective in which we look at other aspects of life that are originating from a necessity perspective, that whether it is required or necessary for us, then and only we should go for it. And right now, how we are approaching our lifestyle, or sometimes our proposals also are maneuvered in such a way that they always seek for a convenient perspective. So at that place, I guess we just move away from the whole pursuit of sustainable development. And so yeah, Ishita, that was really interesting. And would you like to tag someone else on this aspect to talk more?
I don't know who else is left to speak, but I think Ria, I could see your name.
Okay, Ria just joined in. So Ria, we are discussing how your profession, what is your profession's view or your professional view on sustainable development? And yeah, so would you like to say something on it, and how it is achieved or not achieved? Ria, are you there? Okay, so we should now then move on to our question number 4. That is it important to deliberate at this present moment on the usage of the word sustainable development? Do you think it has, created a generalized notion, or it has created some specific or specialized impact? So what do you guys think about this, that whether at this pandemic, is it important to talk on sustainable development, or is it not it is not important to talk on sustainable development? Secondly, till now, how we have approached this in our profession, or in our education, or in our life, the whole meaning of sustainable development, has it been enough, or do we need more? So I would tag Ishita for this.
Okay, I think this pandemic is itself self-explanatory, that how sustainable we actually are, in terms of many things. What COVID, when we are talking about COVID, it's the tiniest existing particle that has made the whole world stand still. And our societies and our economy, and I don't know, our environment, etc., name all the verticals you put in terms of this, are not sustainable enough at present that we could, contain this virus in some terms, some certain terms. For example, we cannot afford to have a lockdown, which we think is a ultimate solution for containing this. So 3 months later, we are struggling with the economic crisis and recession all over the world. We are not sustainable enough that if a pandemic like this, or something crisis, this what you call global crisis occur, that we are sustainable enough with our medical facilities or health facilities or something, that we can actually save the lives of people. So the social perspective comes here. Talking about the environmental perspective, now everybody suddenly is very cautious about, what we want to eat, we want to save, we want to do this, that, etc. So we were actually not ready for this. So probably that's why suddenly in past half a year or something, there is an urgent need of being sustainable enough, I think. So this is self-said in itself, so to say.
Yeah.
So, and I think the businesses themselves are now, in a curve that they have to sustain, and they have to survive, and they have to come up. So I don't know, but when we discuss it among ourselves in offices or something, it is like, because we were not listening to nature, so now the nature wants to listen to us itself. So there is a curve, there is a shift, and if you actually look into the history of a pandemic, when it started in 16th century, 17th century, I think there has always been a pandemic every 100 years, if I understand. And after that, something revolutionary has happened. So probably we could talk about the sustainable revolution from here on, I think.
Okay. Is there anyone who would like to give their views on this question? Ishita Saraswat, would you like to go next?
Sure. So I was kind of listening to Ishita's answer to it, and it was like quite thoughtful. If I have to answer this question, I would say this whole pandemic thing has not made the world unsustainable. I would say, like, our practices, maybe like we might be scared to use the public transport right now. We might be thinking towards getting towards more of unsustainable practices, but at the same time it has started that very thought process in everyone's mind that we really need to think about it. We need to think about sustainable development. Right now we might not have the answer to it, but then everybody around is somewhere made aware of what sustainability is to a certain extent, that they really need to think about something around them except for themselves and their needs and their life. So we are certainly moving towards a kind of sustainability in terms of at least thinking, in terms of at least awareness. The ways and means are still to be identified, but there is a positive growth.
Okay. Aishita, would you like to tag someone?
I would like to really hear from Saurabh, because his answers were like a very different genre of answers that I usually think. So Saurabh.
Okay. So as I understand, the question is the word sustainability lost its meaning? Is that what you asked? And how COVID has played a role in this?
Sorry,
Am I audible?
Saurabh. Yeah. Can you please repeat?
So the question was, just hold on. Yeah. So the question was, um, has the word sustainability lost its meaning? Is that what the question was?
No, the question was, is it important to, discuss or deliberate on what is sustainable development in this pandemic? And after your experience or your journey in the field of sustainable development, do you think it has generalized, or we need to work more on it?
Okay, so I'll have to say that I'm happy the word has become more generalized, because if we just looked at one aspect of it, which was the environmental aspect, we would never reach anywhere. There would never be any consensus between interdisciplinary professions. So I'm happy that it's become generalized, so that everyone has their own idea of what sustainability is. The end goal is always to create a more cleaner, efficient future. That's always the end goal anytime you use the word. So the means of reaching it may be different. You may have some temporary means of losing a bit of your environment, or a temporary a shutdown of an entire area to set up a energy plant, if you will, or a waste management plant, a landfill. So, I'm happy that's become more generalized. In the case of COVID, it's like Ishita said, we've become more unsustainable. I can speak from experience. My mom goes to work in a car. She used to go in a bus. Now she's scared, and no more carpooling. Everyone's scared. That is one major issue. And if you look at uh, how else can you say how COVID has affected it? Let's talk about how power plants were shut down. And as we saw that during the lockdown period, how much there were so many news articles of how you could see Himalayas from kilometers away, how the air became cleaner. And as soon as we got out of the lockdown, it all went back to normal. So I really don't think anything has changed. We're only become more unsustainable, and it's a gradual process. It'll take time, but we always set targets. The UN sets targets, countries sets targets, and eventually we reach at least 50 to 60% of what we want. So that's a good sign as far as I am concerned.
Okay. So yeah, anyone else who would like to, answer this question from their perspective, from their experiences? Okay, I guess some of us have already spoken on it. So yeah, I would now really, move to the last part of my questions, and this is the question that, in which I would also answer the array forest thing. Do you guys think that, we should think beyond sustainable development? What if this word never existed? What would be a life without, using this word sustainable development? Would it be different or would it be the same? Would we like, if sustainable development never existed, probably we would be using these words like, medical healthcare facility needs to be improved, rather than saying that our master plan is sustainable or our design is sustainable, or we would be using some specific words that directly relate to our goals or aspirations, rather than, generalizing it in under the name of sustainable development. So do you think we should think beyond it? So yeah, what are your views on this? And I would, love to hear about it. And after that, I will probably answer RF Forest question. So Suprita, would you like to start?
Yeah, sure. I think if the word sustainable wasn't introduced, at some point, people would start to realize that there is a bigger impact that is required, and there would be some, like, not everyone, but a group of, at least someone would have a thought and would like to do something to impact the life of others. And I also think that one way that we that it would bring about a change is when people would start to think of the word self sufficient. When you start to, to develop the things around you, to, so that they have enough of um every profession, every, all the goals that have been listed, like for example, there's no poverty, there's enough food for everyone. I think that would kind of lead the change towards, a better tomorrow. And and when everyone starts to become self sufficient, I think we can reach the sustainable goals.
Okay. Again, my question here would be self-sufficiency of what? Yeah, I guess it would vary, just like sustainability of what, as Ishita Saraswat said. Like what do we mean when we say, what aspect are we, referring when we say sustainable development? So
yeah, I think self-sufficient in terms of livelihood, when you do have, enough resources to live in a particular place, like you have food, you have shopping, you have parks to go enjoy, you also have places to work. I think that's what I mean by self-sufficient.
But here, like, my reservation here is that we are, thinking from a metropolitan perspective or from an urban perspective, but when it comes to rural perspective, we have tribal areas, and for them the livelihood is not just about, having enough shops or having enough like, for them livelihood depends on nature. And when the moment we in order to fulfill our aspirations in terms of the the resources, in case of, like, we need enough shopping areas, or we need an airport next to us, our settlement, or we need a good institute, and in that case we develop the periphery of a city, and in that case the livelihood of the others or even if they are trying to be self-sufficient, is impacted the most, irrespective of the fact that the livelihood of the people from urban areas could be met.
Yeah, I kind of get what you're saying, but
Yeah.
when you do look at when you look at these tribal communities, you realize that they kind of
Themselves are sustainable.
they are
Yeah,
self-sufficient.
because of the vernacular, the way their lifestyle is so related to the traditional, their traditions that
Yeah.
in turn are, as you said, are specific to the climate, to the geography on which they are living. But the whole point here is, for example, and this was brought up by Ishita Saraswat also, that if we start talking about a region sustainability, and in that case, we make these multi-purpose valley projects, and for that there is displacement, there is eviction. Even though a sustainability at a regional level is met, somewhere or the other it creates chaos, and leads to a greater negative impact for the local people. So yeah, so I would just leave you with that. I if you have to say anything or share anything with on this, you can, Suprita. Would you like to tag someone else? I really want to hear from everyone. What do you think on this issue, on this question? Because it's the last, and I think it's like the turning point of our conversations per se. So Muskan, would you like to say something on this?
Yeah, sure. So if suppose that sustainable word will not be exist, so I think that eventually people would do something. It means like right now due to pandemic, we have been very much aware about good health and we take means precautions about the cleaning environment and surroundings of us. Okay. And also like being from a middle class family, we usually hear that you give more and you'll get the more. So like somewhere people will definitely come forward and but as the word sustainable exists, we are much more aware and like more to contribute to the environment, society, and come forward and do something for that. If somewhere this word was not there, there might be a chance that it may take a longer time to people to realize what is important. Just like if we see a situation of pandemic also right now, if we could have been a little bit more aware at the starting point, maybe the situation, the cases that are right now, that would have not been so much at that level.
Okay. uh Thanks, Muskan, for that. And Saurav, would you like to say something on this?
Yes. To be honest, I don't think, even if I don't think the word sustainability is something magical that we've radically changed our lives ever since its inception. Usage has been started. I think we've always been sustainable as humans from the beginning of era. We've all, at the end of it, what does it mean? It means making our lives better, and that's what we've always been doing. That's how we've become from cavemen to where we are right now. We've taken different approaches, but here we are right now.
Yeah.
So it's not something that's completely. It's not that since its inception, since the usage of that word, it's not radical. That's what I mean. We've always been in that same path. So even if that word wasn't there, where are we right now? Since the industrialization, we have terrible air pollution. Our energy needs are going up. So what is the natural consequence of all of this? We as humans will strive for better air quality, better water quality, um, uh, you know, uh, lower charge tariffs on our electricity. This is just a natural outcome. So it's not something that this word is specifically developed in us. It's just something that's happening as part of life. So yeah, this is that would happen as it is, even if it wasn't for any organization preaching for sustainability or not. The only thing that's happened is it's helped us actually talk about the situation. Many people are still in denial that it's required. We've seen it all around. We have so this helps us create a conversation. It makes us easier to have a conversation. That's all.
Okay. Ishita, I guess you're the last speaker here since Srirag won't be speaking on this. So yeah, would you like to say something?
So I would say if this whole word of sustainability wouldn't have come in existence, I think as a country, as Indians, we would have been more sustainable. So, see, the word that came, sustainability, came from the Western context, North America, South America, and that context. They were the ones who were in this form of capitalism, producing more use and throw one time use things. And they were the ones who felt that now we need to introduce something called sustainability to save our environment. At the same time frame, in India and in the Asian countries, in other Asian countries as well, we were kind of following our local practices, our vernacular activities that were completely sustainable as compared to what things were going on globally. So,
Yeah.
if that sustainability word wouldn't have come, at least at country level, as India, we would have been more sustainable than we are right now. Even we are talking right now, we aren't much sustainable because we have started getting that influence from the Western context. If that word wouldn't have come, we would have been more sustainable. Right now, also, we aren't that late, but something would have been a little bit different. A more positive picture we would have seen. So that's what I say. If
Yeah.
sustainability wasn't there, like, I don't know, there would have been a divide right now, but something better at least.
Yeah. So, I am almost about to end the dialogue at in some time. But before I do that, I would go back to 2 points made in this whole discussion. One was by on the RA forest, and uh, and we actually yeah, as Saurav agreed that from both the perspectives on which the debate was happening, from the neighborhoods perspective and also from the political perspective, both of them were trying to achieve sustainable development, but the type of sustainable development or what they were trying to achieve was totally different. One was related to environment, other was related to economic development, as well as some part of environment that could be seen in case of future. So what if and Ishita mentioned this way one of her thoughts, that that what it is that through sustainable development we are trying to achieve, or when it comes to sustainable development, what are we, or what are we referring to probably. So what if we we don't use the word sustainable development generally, we use it for something more specific. If I say as there was a conversation by Ishita, she just left the conversation, but yeah, it she accepted that we need to talk about social sustainability rather than just talking about sustainable development. We need to talk about economic sustainability. We need to talk about the human evolution and then related to sustainability. And now also, if in our everyday lives we go back to that specific aspect of sustainable development rather than terming it as sustainable development, I think we would have better results, because that would really mark our goals, what we are trying to achieve. Secondly, what I think is that sustainable development does have brought a change in our lifestyle, because it has held us together, held probably the whole world together, in a sense that we want to save our future. But at the same time, it has been used by different individual groups in order to manipulate their own in order to gain profits under the name of sustainable development. And I strongly believe here that we need to go back to the local roots. We need to go back to the localization of sustainable development, and in that case we need to look at the social aspect, the social sustainability, the or else to an extent we do not need to use the word sustainability for some time. Maybe we need to use the word resilience, because it has a specific meaning. Even though economic resilience is also part of it, but yeah, I'm here relating it to a disaster resilience. Maybe we need to use that. Maybe we need to use words like renewable energy if we are achieving that. And I believe that in case of sustainable development, no doubt the research is really strong, and it elaborates on each and every aspect of the verticals that we were talking about. But somewhere or the other, when it comes to practice, practice has to be specific also in order to replicate that elaborated form of research that this word has. And with this, I would just have a poll. So I have a poll here, and there are 3 questions. So I would, ask you to answer the third one, that do you think we need to retire the word? And I would love if you could, answer it. I guess you guys can see the poll right now. Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Has everyone?
I'm sorry, I got cut out. Can you repeat what you were saying?
Yeah, I was just saying, can you just go and do the polling? I would request you to answer the third question.
Where can I see the polling?
I guess it would appear on your screen by default. Not sure. It happens like it displays directly.
Can you say it again though, because I got cut out, my Wi-Fi got
So
cut out.
yeah, maybe just you can answer that. Do you think we need to retire the word sustainable development? And I guess you said no to it in one of your conversations.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess we have it. We have the results of it, and I respect that all of us have reservations when it comes to retiring the word or using it to a specific extent. But I guess the key takeaway from this dialogue would be to use it more specifically, so that we have a clear communication when we use the word sustainable development, rather than creating some blank space or putting it somewhere in the gray area where it can have 1,000 interpretations. So I guess maybe that you can do. And if you would think that it is still self-sufficient in itself, then probably you can use it the way you want. So it's up to you. But before you guys leave, I would just ask to give any feedback of through a link that I'm sharing on the chat box. And just a second, I will share the link. Manshita, if you are here, can you share the link on the chat box? So it will take only 1 to 2 minutes to fill this, and it would be really helpful for us in order to see what is actually that you think has been in this dialogue. And I guess I shared it. So I have posted this on the chat, and I will really request you to give your feedback either on the Zoom meeting or on the forms link that have just circulated on the chat. So are there any key takeaways, and what is your response from this dialogue? Since you guys were very excited, I could have seen it in your responses. So if anyone would like to share anything, that would be really great.
I would like to share that being the younger one among all of you, so I got the basically more knowledge about what it is all about and how we are discussing in right now around the world and how we can bring the change. So for me, it was full of learning session.
Okay, thanks for sharing, Muskan. I would really request everyone, Suprita, Muskan, Saurav, Ishita, Srirag, to please fill this form. And it was really like it was a learning experience for me also, and I had come with this notion that I'll be learning a lot of things, and I really got to know a lot of viewpoints, and the motive of this whole dialogue was to come together, learn, see how people perceive this word. And I guess you guys would be probably doing this feedback right now, because we need to end the meeting in 7 minutes. So if you could do this, and if you could give a thumbs up after you are done, or if you would like to share anything. Okay, Ishita has done. Muskan has also done. Okay. And I guess the floor is open for 7 minutes now, I guess 6 minutes now. And after that, we need to end the conversation. So if you want to say anything on this topic, on your experience, yeah, sort of, you raise the hand.
Yeah, no, that was by mistake. I was just trying to click on the link. Sorry.
Okay. I am not sure whether, all of yours expectation were met or no, but I think that you guys are silent, so it was good for you. As in, you enjoyed, and I don't know, like I think it was good, as in from your side also, and interactive.
It was really interactive and fun, and it was actually a big learning experience to hear from everyone and their perspectives on it.
Yeah.
Kind
So
of.
we really had this thing that webinars are happening, so many webinars are happening, and a lot of people register for it, but the interactive dialogues are something new. So we thought of arranging it in this manner. And also I guess all of us, even in case of webinars, also are there to learn, even the speaker of the webinars. So yeah, we just felt that interaction would be great, and it would help us to network also and know how people are working, in which area they are working. So yeah, and I guess if all of you have filled that form, I thank you a lot for joining this discussion, and it was really great moderating you all. Secondly, I would be giving you, I will be mailing you the certificates on your mail IDs that you have, through which you have registered. And it was amazing to see the interactive responses that we got. And okay, definitely. Thanks, Ashita. We'll try that for sure. So yeah, and I guess it was a learning experience for you also, and if you are really interested in engaging with these UN75 dialogues, then you can follow the CVAL page on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, because we have posts of a lot of groups. So we have different groups, like in different like we have group based on SDGs, 17 SDGs, and for different states. So we are having dialogues almost on regular basis every day in either of the groups. And it would be great if you are really interested in UN75 dialogues, you can engage through it, you can be a participant. And if you have any queries, you can mail me. I have shared the mail ID here, but yeah, I would probably be mailing you the certificate. So yeah, you can reply to all of that. And yeah, so it was great meeting all of you here. And with this, I end the conversation. Thanks for coming, and we hope to see you again in future.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.